support that. But when he's wrong, he must come back and say I was wrong. In circumstances of this Brasa thing, he never actually came and apologized, nor did he come and say to South Africans I was wrong. And for me, I find that quite problematic. The use of words is important. When people try to create an atmosphere, of course, they use certain words. The questions we received were talking about preliminary findings of the SIU. Now, what are preliminary findings of the SIU? I think the SIU must answer for itself. What are preliminary findings? Because I know findings or reports of the SIU are for the president. And before that, there can't be any findings, by the way, in any event. So we wait, we work with the SIU. An interesting phenomenon is that it is the previous board of the RAF, together with the management, that decided to write to the then minister to ask for investigations. SIU investigation, to be specific. So the idea that they came here because there was something wrong that needed investigation, and that we are the ones that are in the main being investigated is a strange one. But I must emphasize, they must investigate without fear, favor, or prejudice, including the things we did, of course. Some of us are unperturbed. I sleep nicely at night. Even if police pass, there's a siren, I sleep nicely. I know there's nothing. Now, this is a rehashed, what is called a rehashed whistleblowers report. And I think it's there stated very clearly. And there are others. I think there are other two. We are waiting for them because we are not worried. They've gone to the presidential hotline. They went to the public protector. We have given all the information that we have at our disposal. And we continue to work with the SIU as it is. Now, when people are fishing on a fishing expedition, you get camouflage, innuendos, statements that don't necessarily correlate, are unrelated. But those are not the real issues, as it were. And I'm not surprised, by the way. I told you the last time I sat in front of you that my contract is coming to an end in August. So we are going to see all these funny things, rehashing things of 2021, something that happened in 2020. We are going to see the rehashing of the 2023. I hear that it's a progressive move to make sure that continuously every other week my name will be in the media for the wrong reasons. No one tells you about the 80% performance over the last 5 years on average. No one. Far above 80%. No one talks about the 36 billion that we have saved this organization over the last 5 years. They just make innuendos and all that. No one tells you that the strategic plan as we set ourselves in 2020-2025 has been achieved in full. No one will say that because, of course, there is this tendency. But also there's a tendency to use innuendos to attack our predecessors here at the Road Accident Fund. And I'm never going to agree with that. These were professionals. By the way, they were better than us because they also got clean audits throughout. Today, they are treated like ghosts. They don't exist. If you have got a problem, you can't ask them. You must ask them. But I must emphasize that the problem I have with the approach of this article was also that the SIU was never asked questions. It's picking up what SIU said somewhere and then adding it, because I suspect that if you then ask them questions, they might not deliver the narrative that you expect. One issue about us is that I think what is most important is why the leak? Why do people leak? And they're going to say, no, it was not a leak. It's I mean, this thing happened 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago when we went to Scopa, and before Scopa, by the way, in any event. This issue of the so-called findings, preliminary findings. We don't know what those are. And if there are findings are discussed with the RAF as provided for in the engagement letter we have signed with the SIU. And I think it's important that that must be put to bed. Now, I know what this is about. So it's about me. And I hope that these colleagues of mine, I mean, they have suffered a lot because of me. You don't attack them. You know, when you attack people, you call someone a PA who just woke up one day and walked the street of Johannesburg to find an office of her liking. And then suddenly, that office is the one that we required. Go and look for an office. South Africa has got laws. RAF is run quite tightly and it's got its own governance processes that we follow. So I find it quite distasteful that people would leak stuff to try and fit certain narratives. I also doubt that all these leaks are done with the blessing of the leadership of the SIU. Because you would have gone to them and asked them questions and they would have answered you. Of course, you wouldn't go. I did ask them whether they received any questions, and they said no. We never received any questions from anyone about this or that. So they never received any questions. Now, let's deal with this thing of this building, right? So I'm going to take you through, I think part of it will be to take you through to the documents, the evidence, because why I'm saying this about me is because there is this narrative that is being created. A narrative of this arrogant guy who does not listen and does as he wishes. He sends his stooges to do his dirty work. Imagine me saying to someone, just go and look for a building. When you find it, come back and then let's procure that building. Or what kind of a CEO would that be? Okay. They then create this ESCO as an ESCO of stooges. People just don't think. These people are qualified sitting in front of you here. And I'll tell you, they don't take nonsense from anyone, including this very CEO. We have robust discussions everywhere. And I must emphasize as well that the board is the same. This board held us to account. We disagree on a lot of issues. We butt heads because they are exercising their fiduciary responsibilities. So this idea of this rogue CEO going amok, controlling everyone, will never stand the test of time because evidence will suggest otherwise. But I'm unperturbed because I knew it was going to come. Now, when you go and take 36 billion away from people, you expect it. It's going to come. Turning around the RAF is not for CCC, and I'm sure that you must ask our predecessors, they will tell you. Because anything you are going to do, as long as it does not benefit lawyers, medical schemes, actuaries, doctors, you are not going to be liked. The previous management and the board was hated by bringing RAPS, the Road Accident Benefit Scheme. Unfortunately, the detractors won because it never saw the light of day, as it were. But we are unperturbed because ours was a mission to assist in the sustainability of the RAF. And by the way, we didn't bring ourselves here. I didn't just wake up one day minding my own business at the Department of Transport as a CFO and walk into this building and say I'm going to be CEO or acting CEO for that matter. No. I was brought here because there was an issue and it had to be resolved. And the idea was that I'm the right person. I'm sure that the people looked. I asked why I was asked to come here. And there was a reason. And I was given those reasons. And I think you must ask those that appointed me why they decided to appoint me at the time. And of course, if you also want to go further, you must ask those that appointed me to become a full-time CEO what they considered for me to be here. So I didn't bring myself here. I'm undeterred. So I will pursue this thing with a vigor. So these lawyers, they must know I fear not. I sleep nicely at night knowing I've got nothing to fear. Whether it's an SIU investigation, whether it's any form of investigation, by the way. It was a public protector's investigation, whatever. I'm open to that. Let's now get to the facts for the record. Who is this Moana Properties? And how did we get here? What is the difference between a preliminary report and an interim report? You see, when you want to create innuendos, you call a preliminary finding an interim report, because an interim report says there are actually findings that can stand and are continuing, but we are still continuing. There's nothing called an interim report. Neither are there interim findings, right? What are these processes and procedures governing an investigation, and what are the powers and functions of the SIU, and who do they report to? As I said, this thing, my understanding is that they report to the president once they're finalized. And then we must go to the role of the BEC, because very clearly the BEC and the BAC are appointed by me. And there's an idea that when they bring their recommendations to me, I must agree. I must just rubber stamp. I'm not a rubber stamp for the BEC. I'm not a rubber stamp for the BAC. Imagine the headlines if I just allowed a process where some people go evaluate something. Other person gives the same building a 5, another one gives it a 1. Imagine. And I say, no, it's fine. So when I ask what's happened here, people say, we are withdrawing this. Well, who's me to say don't withdraw it? They withdraw it. It came in front of me in my office. It got looked at, and at the end of the day, the decision was that there are irregularities. Certainly from the scores, people could not explain them and all that. But the reality is that. But this thing had gone to the market 6 times before, since 2013. We were sitting in a building called Marble Towers. Everyone who knows Marble Towers is in Small Street and Von Villa, somewhere there. I went there for the first time. You see this building here, you guys have walked into this building. You must go and look at Marble Towers and tell us whether any employee of the RAF deserves to be there when we sit in a building like this in head office. I found it strange. I asked questions. Why are we still in this building? Below the floors that were occupied by RAF and above those floors, it was just lawyers. So lawyers had found themselves in Marble Towers. The aim was to get into a building that we were a single tenant in, and where we would not get claimants being moved around, whether coming out of our offices or doing that, or stealing, or whatever that the case may be, of those claimants. And the way they were misguided, others don't even know. As they get there, they think that that building belongs to RAF, and they ended up in lawyers' offices. We know that. So I come, I'm told this, and I said, let's set up a team, special project. We need to move people out. But at the time, Marble Towers was also having a problem of occupational health and safety. The risk that anything could happen to some of our colleagues that were in that office. That's the first thing that the organized labor here asked me to do, move us out of this building. And of course, we did the work. Now, interesting, Moana Properties, I don't even know them, by the way. I don't know who leads that organization. I know nothing about it. We did work. Earlier on, the Treasury had actually asked us to look at whether there's no public entity that has got space in Johannesburg where we could move, because it had failed more than 5 times. Now, PRASA was approached. They wanted us to do work on their building, do renovations before we moved in. We just did not have the money. Then Transnet was approached. Transnet did not have any suitable building. Then PIC was approached. Then PIC had said to us, go to Moana Properties. They are the people that manage our property portfolio. You must know that PIC manages assets on behalf of the Government Employee Pension Fund. So Moana Properties is a property manager managing the assets of PIC that belong to GPF. So we then go there. They say we've got 3 buildings. Those buildings are then assessed for suitability. I'm going to show you here what the criteria is, or was at the time. We then approached the National Treasury. At the time, the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer was the one that was allowed for deviation. So you couldn't deviate without them agreeing with you. You give reasons, they then deal with the reasons and all that. And I think it's important that that must be seen in that context. So for an investigative journalist, it was an easy thing to do. Who are you, Moana Properties? Who do you represent? Where is this lease? Then the lease will just come out. The lease will show you who the landlord is. It will say GPF. Then it says Moana represents the landlord. And that's it. I mean, that will put pay. Why do you remove PIC? Because you want to create an atmosphere of this corrupt CEO. Mina, you can accuse me of anything else. Anything. I am not that part. There I know. They know. You can accuse me of anything. And then, of course, there is this view of also attacking people in my office. I mean, we have got a person that does special projects, and she's being attacked. Firstly, she was a PA with no qualifications. She was never a PA, and they say whatever. You want me? Come here. I'm here. Don't attack people around me. Come. I'm here. So I know that you want me, so come to me. Leave this ones out of it. It's a battle you want to have. I'm ready. I'm battle ready anytime, because I think I know what this is about. And of course, you are going to make it about Collins Letsoalo. Anything that happens, it's Collins Letsoalo. RAF loses this, my picture. It is as if RAF does not even have a logo. Right? I'm sure that maybe we were supposed to replace this with my pictures on this thing, because it would seem like every time anything happens, it's my name on it. And for what good reason, I don't know. But I told you that there is this concerted effort. There is this media company that has been hired. You can go and check them. They are called Humanicate. The next time I'm coming here, I'll give you the name of the person in Humanicate that has been hired to run this campaign. Right? So you must know as you meet them that I know about this thing. So it's important that people must understand that and have a context, because I know the name of this company that has been hired to do all this work. I told you who they hired. I told you that they are professors. I told you that they are editors in this space. So I'm waiting, as it were. So there's nothing new here. I warned you when it was going to come that it was going to come. I think let's go to the criteria. I think I think it's important that we look at that criteria that was used, that we took to the National Treasury as well. It's very, very important because there is no one in the state that can just wake up one day like you are going to choose your own house. Even if it was my wife, I wouldn't say go check her house and then I'll come pay for it. I think that would be the most irresponsible thing to do. Because what if she chooses something I can't afford, right? Here, the appointed officials comprising of facilities management, project management, GM special projects, who's in my office, as well as an official from SCA, formed a delegation to look at the vacant buildings in the Johannesburg area. A standard criteria to assess the buildings was developed and used for this purpose. The latest APOA report was used to benchmark the proposed rates as well as confirming the building grades. 4 buildings were assessed, the outcome reflected below. You can see it. Now, you can see there's Rosebank 112, Oxford Road, Parktown 10 Queen Street, and Parktown 10 Junction Street. You will see. I think those things are there for themselves. You can see how they were assessed. I don't want to go through this. I'm just showing you. I won't go through the criteria. I think there is probably about 20 areas of that criteria, if not more. Okay. The costs were also then compared. Okay. So you must go to Marble Towers and you must go to our building now, and you must tell me if there is no difference there. And by the way, it's lower in terms of cost per square meter than Marble Towers. And it belongs to the GPF. So it's not a friend of mine. So when they say it, it's like Moana Properties are friends of mine that I just decided to give something to. And that the people who were sent, they just came back and said, we like that building, let's move into it. There's no such a thing. Okay? So we will make this information available. So we will make it available. You will see our motivation to National Treasury. We'll make those documents available. You must have them. Their government wants, and this the evidence that one would require. Then, of course, there is the application for approval to deviate. We will also make that available. But what is important is this, the advert of 26 January 2013. Let's go there. Yeah, there. I think let's start here. So this is what we tell National Treasury. On the 26th of July 2013, no acceptable tender received. 14 February 2014, 14 November 2014, 12 February 2015, 28 October 2016, 15 January 2016, 16 March 2018. I arrived at the Road Accident Fund on the 9th of September 2019. That's when I arrived here. You see how many times people went out to market and they could not get a suitable building. Now, faced with this, we then go to National Treasury after having gone to a state entity and asked that please help us with the accommodation. By the way, we've done the very same thing. We are occupying what is called Prasa House in Hatfield, in Pretoria. We're now housing what is formerly known as Main Lane Office, which is the Pretoria office of the RAF. They've now moved to what is known as Prasa House in Hatfield. They're at Bernard Street. You can go and check it. We did the very same thing. We went to them again. It's an entity of the state. We do business with the entity of the state. There's no friend of mine there. So now, let's then move to what we then say. We say this thing, but what is important is this. The National Treasury gives us an approval, right? There it is. Next part. The reasons provided are justifiable. National Treasury supports the deviation. Because National Treasury did not just rubber stamp when you go to them. They don't do that. They don't just rubber stamp and say, no, he likes it, let's go. he sent his PA to go and check it, and the PA liked it, so let's approve it. Absolute nonsense. I think, for me, it shows you what people think about us. And for me, that is worrisome. So, in any event, by the way, as I said, the rules are very clear. There are processes. This thing was audited by the AG. It was. Of course, if they have got findings, they will say those are our findings, but there was no findings here. We are audited every time. Now, let's then move to the other allegations. So, peppered. There is this cleaning. I don't even know, as I'm telling you now, who cleans RAF offices. I don't know who provides security to us. And frankly, I'm not interested. In the ordinary course of people doing their work, people will come and say, well, there is this contract that needs extension. We then extend it if there is a need. And most of these contracts anyway fall within the remit of the board. Most of them, including this particular one that we have just finalized. It was a recommendation to the board. You would have thought I approve myself. No. I've got bosses. They take decisions as well. Okay? So it's very strange that so they add security, fleet, Cienza. Most of these contracts, I was not even here when they were entered into. But as I say, the people that were here cannot be found guilty in absentia. You are not going to cast aspersions about my predecessors and say, no, these are men and women. And I'm telling you now, they got clean audits for this. All of this were audited. I was not there, but they got clean audit for this. Clean audit doesn't just come easy. So people must not make this thing about this and then cast aspersions about people that are here. I'm saying this because I know one day when I've left, people will be saying things about me. In this place, you hardly ever get support, by the way. You get criticism, even from the most ignorant people about things. So people say things they know very little about, and then they make noise as if they actually know much. And then they are right, you are always wrong. You are guilty until proven innocent. It's not the other way around. And I think it's wrong that things happen. So I'm not going to go much into those things. They were just peppered right there. But I think it's time to put paid to this idea. And then you see it at the end of the article, right? It says, Letsoalo's accounting policy, unilateral. Huh. So I'm like, which account? The RAF's accounting policy, unilateral. So I need to put paid to this thing. We may disagree, and we disagree, by the way, with the approach of the AGSA. And I always say we work with them very closely. We disagree, and we disagree because we are also professionals in our own right. We are professionals in our own right. But I think I want to take you through this unilateralism. It's going to be very important because, you see, I'm tired of people saying things that cannot be substantiated by facts. We are the only institution that has been consistent in our approach. And before we arrived at conclusions, we asked for guidance. We did. And I'm going to show you today, once and for all, that we did ask for guidance. From the standard setter, we engaged the National Treasury. Actually, we started with the AGSA itself when we started this whole process of changing accounting policy. So it's not a unilateral Collins Letsoalo accounting policy. I don't own accounting policies, by the way. So it's the accounting policy of the RAF as approved by the RAF board. who's the accounting authority of the RAF. So let's go to this. And don't insult Bernice, right? Bernice is sitting on my left. Don't insult her. She's a CA, fully fledged, very brilliant CFO. I didn't come with Bernice. Luckily, I found her here. So if I hired her, they would be saying, no. You know, maybe you're a PA, Bernice, I don't know. But I found her here. And under her is a lot of CAs. Yeah, trained by the big five, most of them, by the way. Chartered accountants, CAs. So you don't come to Bernice when you don't know what you are talking about. You will find it very difficult to explain yourself. So I want us to go through this, and people don't ask these questions, and I certainly hope that South Africans will start asking themselves these questions as we move forward. We arrive here, we are told that there is a 320 billion liability. But some financial management company that I won't today name, which I will name in due course, came to me and said, look, we can take this liability off your hands. And I said, what do you mean? They said, give us 250 billion. We will then expunge this liability for you. Because anyway, RAPS is coming, so give it to us. And my question was, so you, public sector, what are your shareholders saying? You are giving us 70 billion. Remember, this thing is 320 billion. Someone says, give me 250, I will take care of it for you. Why would private sector want to suddenly give us 70 billion? So that's what made me wonder, what is going on here? One day I will name them, by the way. But for purposes of today, it made me think that this is the thing. But in any event, what our executive authority had said to us is that look at this liability, because it was said to be the second biggest liability after ESCO. And they said, look at it, and then tell us what you think and what must be done, because we can't have this continued liability. Now, we then go to the AGSA. We say, why are we accounting for this? We realize that we are using, we used a standard for insurance contracts, IFRS 4, for this. And we then said, look, you tell us why we are still using this. They then said, no. The ASB, go to the ASB. We then agreed it was 1920 that let's leave it in the next financial year, we are going to do it. And then in the next financial year, indeed, in January, I think it was of 21, we then went there and met. We wrote a letter to the ASB, an email. Then they then said, let's meet. We met with the ASB. The contents of that are in a letter that we are going to give you, which is the 1st of February. That is written by the ASB. And we then proceeded, on the basis of what the ASB told us, we then proceeded to change our accounting policy. In the process of the changes, by the way, we went to an internationally acclaimed accounting firm to review and look at the work that we were doing, whether we were right. In fact, that accounting firm came and said, you are correct. Then we changed the accounting policy. Then the AG then came up with a finding, a preliminary finding. I didn't say interim, you heard me, preliminary finding. So we then had a discussion and disagreement. And then once we got a disagreement, we then went back because there was an interpretation of the letter of the 1st of February. And I think it's important to look at it there. Let's go down. Yes, there it is. You see the 1st of February letter is this one. You must see the first part. The correspondence was sent on a number of entities. The letter was not authoritative. We'll share this with you. And then it says that, no, just keep it there because I want to go to the part that says that the accounting policies applied by RAF would have been determined by management based on that orange part, on what they believed is appropriate given the prescripts of legislation, relevant facts and circumstances. So Collins Letsoalo did not just wake up on the wrong side of the bed and change the accounting policy. There's the processes. But also it says management determined this based on what they believed. It didn't say what others believe. It said management. Now, we'll go further. No, the last one. Leave it there. Leave it there. There is the last part where it's highlighted. I think it's important. The board has a stated policy of converging with international public sector accounting standards, which is consistent with ASB's mandate and strategic objectives. So when they're going to tell you about IPSAS, that's the one. IPSAS 42. We'll get to that. Let's go to the next slide. Way forward. Arrangements are accounted for using the principles in the standard of GRAP. In the absence of a specific standard, management develops. Management is us. Policies based on standards that deal with similar issues of the conceptual framework. Now, here's the most important part. Any changes in accounting policy should be made using principles of GRAP 3. Now, we're going to show you what the National Treasury says about that GRAP 3. And of course, a standard provides overarching principle for types of transaction rather than the specific entities. Now, let's go. This is just the ASB handbook that is clear about standards of GRAP, what is the mandate, what are directives, what is authoritative, what is not. Let's pass that. As well, the issue around the handbook, directives. Let's go to the next one. Here's the important part. Now, we are told that I just decided on my own. There is the guideline. We'll share this guideline of the National Treasury. Direct 5 provides guidance on which standards to apply. Where no guidance is available, a very strict hierarchy must be followed to determine the specific accounting policy. While considering above key principles, the following hierarchy is used to determine which standard or guide to follow. Requirements of the standards of GRAP. We are going to show you that there is no standard of GRAP for social benefits. Secondly, the framework for preparation and presentation of financial statements. 3, pronouncements of the International Public Sector Accounting Standards Board, IPSAS. B. Now, the fourth one is the International Accounting Standards Board. That is, if you don't find anything in IPSAS. B. Now, we'll go to the next slide. Give us the next slide. There it is. We then have decided, by the way, then there is issues with the AG. We write again to the ASB. Look at what we are saying. Request for guidance in terms of the change in accounting policy implemented. So the idea that we just decided, and even when people said we differ with you, we said to hell with them and then proceeded, can't be correct. It's not supported by facts. We went back to the ASB. Now let's look at what the ASB then says to us. What we are asking The letter, we are talking about the letter of the first. No, just keep to the letter. No, go back. Go back. The next one. Next one. No. Now where are you going? The next one. The next one. Yeah, this one. Step B. The letter did not prohibit the accounting policy. You were very clear that the change in accounting policy is management's responsibility. However, you advise that any change should be the requirements of GRAP 3, paragraph 13. Then the letter did not conclude on IPSAS 42 is in conflict with the conceptual framework and cannot be used. Then we say the letter did not indicate that when applying paragraph 16 and 17 of the GRAP issued by the ASB, IPSAS 42 is disqualified from being used to formulate relevant accounting policy. That the ASB does not prescribe the application of IFRS 4 to all social benefits. It's us asking for guidance from the Accounting Standards Board. Now, next slide. Then we say, upon the review of 2021, this is what the AG did. Then we say it is apparent that the AG, the findings that they still stood by the view that ASB's letter was authoritative. So they disagree with us. We go back to the person that says you can do this. And then we then write to them back to say, this letter of yours is still not clear. Let's go. Therefore, your guidance in the above matters will be appreciated in order to resolve the dispute between RAF management and AGSA. We ask for guidance. Let's see the response. There is the response. Response to request for guidance. Change in accounting policy. Okay? The Secretariat does not mediate between dispute and all that. In terms of their mandate, they don't provide technical opinions. Let's go to the next one. Directive 5. As there is no standard for GRAP at present, and recognizing that entities adopted specific accounting policy into our previous correspondent emphasized the change in accounting policy should provide more relevant and more reliable information. In the absence of standard of GRAP, entities formulate their own accounting policies using GRAP 3. This means that the principles, definition, and the existing standard dealing with similar issues should be used first before reverting to conceptual framework or pronouncement of other standard setters. Let's go to the next one. Adoptions of standards. Entities may not adopt. In the absence of standard of GRAP, an accounting policy may be formulated using the standards of another international national standard setter. Adoption of standard means full compliance. It is there, you are therefore unsure because we said to them that we are adopting the standard instead of saying we are going to use it to determine our accounting policy. Next slide. Insurance versus social benefits. They then explain that. And they say a key consideration deciding whether the principle of pronouncement of standard setters could be considered in formulating the accounting policy for transaction circumstances for event is understand whether the underlying transaction circumstances or events are the same. Then they say IPSAS 42 social benefits as follows. Then the most important part is that second last highlighted point. For IPSAS 42 to be relevant to the development of RAF's accounting policy, the benefits provided by the RAF should be consistent with the definition of the social benefit. The assessment of whether the benefits provided by RAF are consistent with this definition should be done at each of the benefits provided. Nowhere do they say you can use it. Now they say, from the annual report of 1920, we note that there is several benefits which are provided by the RAF, and each of these would need to be assessed to determine if they are consistent with the definition of IPSAS 42. So they tell us how to apply it. Today we are the only ones that just decided on our own, and I think that is wrong at every level. Next slide. Now, the rationale for discontinuation. This standard of IFRS 4, by the way, has been discontinued since the 31st of December 2022. From the 1st of January 2023, it has been superseded by IFRS 17. So anyone who says go back to IFRS 4 must know that the standard no longer exists. And there is a rationale that is given by the standard setter. The standard setter puts all these things, lack of comparability. Okay? Then they list all those things. We'll give you this. Next slide. Little transparency or useful information. This is IFRS 4. For its own, what they call insurance contracts. We don't have any at RAF. By the way, at RAF, people must get this. The person that pays the fuel levy of R2.18 is not the beneficiary. It's not the beneficiary. We must repeat that all the time. The driver, who is the driver at fault, is the one that pays that R2.18. And instead of suing that person, you then sue the RAF for it. And so you must understand that context. So that's why you'll find that a passenger would pay, because they don't buy fuel. Where do they buy fuel? For what would they buy it? So it must be understood in that context. Next slide. Yeah, that's this one. You see, there is a rationale for financial statements. And the ASB itself says when preparing financial statements, it is often easy to focus on complying with requirements of standard to receive a positive audit outcome and forget about why we prepare them. The information in the financial statement is not prepared for auditors. The auditors express an opinion on whether the financial statement fairly presents the financial position, performance, and cash flow of an entity. The auditors are not users of the information in the financial statements. It is the ASB that says that, it's not us. So people, when we say that, people then fight with that. You can see that they explain why you actually prepare financials. I think that becomes important, because we are often asked, but what if you get this adverse opinion? Well, if we believe that we have presented this thing in line with the GRAP 3, the guidelines and everything, we have done the right thing. That the AG differs with us cannot then trounce these principles. Next slide. Now, we can go to the classification of the RAF. I think it's important that we deal with this classification once and for all. We are giving you the rationale of why we are saying we are a social benefit. You will see it, we will give you all this for you to apply yourself to it. Next slide. You can see Public Sector Classifications Committee. No one calls them, asks them why, even after a review you did